The Industrial Revolution was one of the most transformative periods in human history, completely reshaping economies, societies, and the way people lived. Before it began, most of the world operated under agrarian economies. People lived in rural communities, relying on farming, handicrafts, and local trade to survive. Manufacturing was done by hand in small workshops, and transportation was slow, often limited to horses, carts, and wooden ships. Life was dictated by nature. Seasons determined food production, and most people lived their entire lives in the same village or town. The roots of industrialization can be traced back to the scientific revolution and the Age of Enlightenment. Advances in mathematics, physics, and engineering led to new inventions and discoveries. During the 17th and early 18th centuries, the first signs of mechanization began appearing, especially in the textile industry. Spinning and weaving, once done by hand, started becoming more efficient with devices like the spinning jenny and the water frame. However, the real turning point came in the late 18th century with the introduction of steam power. James Watt's improvements to the steam engine revolutionized manufacturing and transportation. Factories powered by coal and steam could produce goods on a massive scale, far beyond what was possible with traditional manual labor. Britain, rich in coal and iron, became the birthplace of industrialization, and soon other countries followed. Cities rapidly grew as people moved from farms to urban centers in search of factory jobs. This led to the rise of industrial cities like Manchester, London, and later New York and Chicago. With mass production, goods became cheaper and more accessible. Railroads and steamships allowed for faster trade and communication, creating a truly interconnected world. The development of steel, electricity, and mechanized agriculture only accelerated the pace of change, laying the foundation for modern economies. But industrialization wasn't without its downsides. Poor working conditions, child labor, and overcrowded cities created new social challenges. The rise of factories led to pollution, and while some benefited from the new economy, many workers lived in poverty, struggling under harsh conditions. Over time, labor movements fought for better wages, safer conditions, and shorter work hours, leading to the eventual development of workers' rights. The impact of the Industrial Revolution extended far beyond manufacturing. It influenced politics, leading to revolutions and new economic systems like capitalism and socialism. It changed warfare, making weapons more advanced and deadly. It even altered human life expectancy, with advances in medicine and sanitation increasing populations worldwide. By the 20th century, industrialization had spread across the globe, shaping the modern world as we know it. Everything from transportation and communication to education and healthcare owes its rapid progress to the innovations that began during this era. The Industrial Revolution wasn't just about machines and factories. It was about the birth of the modern age, where science, technology, and human ingenuity pushed civilization forward in ways never seen before. What if the Industrial Revolution never happened? Would we still rely on manual labor and horse-drawn carts? How different would our cities, jobs, and daily lives be? If the Industrial Revolution had never happened, the world would be drastically different in almost every way. Cities as we know them might not exist, and society could still be largely rural, relying on small-scale farming and local trade. Without mass production, every item, from clothing to tools, would still be handmade, making goods expensive and scarce. The concept of consumer culture, where people can buy affordable products in large quantities, would likely never have developed. Transportation would be far behind what we have today. Without steam engines, railroads wouldn't have connected continents, and long-distance travel would remain slow and unreliable. Ships powered by wind and animals pulling carts would still be the primary means of transportation. Cars, planes, and even modern highways might not exist at all, making global trade and movement of goods nearly impossible. Technology and medicine would have also progressed much slower. Without industrialization, mass production of medical equipment and medicine wouldn't be possible, meaning diseases would spread more easily with fewer treatments available. Hospitals wouldn't be as advanced, and life expectancy would be much lower. Scientific breakthroughs in chemistry, physics, and biology would take much longer to develop since research institutions and funding would be limited. Communication would also be completely different. Without industrial advancements in printing and telegraph technology, the spread of information would be painfully slow. There might be no mass newspapers, no telephones, no radio, and certainly no internet. People would still rely on handwritten letters that take weeks or months to deliver, keeping societies isolated from one another. The economy would be based more on agriculture and small-scale craftsmanship rather than global industry. Countries would struggle to support large populations without mechanized farming, meaning food shortages could be common. Wealth would remain concentrated in the hands of landowners, and the concept of a middle class might never emerge. The lack of industrial jobs would mean fewer opportunities for people to rise out of poverty, keeping rigid social structures in place for generations. However, without the Industrial Revolution, there would also be some unexpected benefits. Pollution and climate change might not be as severe, as coal-burning factories and massive industrial waste wouldn't exist. The natural world could remain more preserved, with forests, rivers, and air being much cleaner. The fast pace of urbanization wouldn't have happened, meaning people might still live in tight-knit communities with simpler, more sustainable lifestyles. Still, while avoiding industrial pollution sounds appealing, the trade-off would be enormous. The conveniences of modern life, electricity, fast travel, mass communication, medical advancements, and an overall higher standard of living would all be out of reach. Civilization would progress at a much slower pace, and the level of technological innovation we take for granted today might still be centuries away. In a world without industrialization, life would be simpler, but it would also be harder. People would work longer hours doing physical labor. Goods would be scarce and expensive. Communication would be painfully slow, and progress in science and medicine would be drastically hindered. Humanity would have remained in a world closer to the Middle Ages than to the modern digital era we know today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating stories about history's greatest figures and events.